and thank you so much for doing this.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
We've known Richard for 25, 30 years. We used to go to his Halloween parties, and he was always gracious, crazy houses, and of course, you know him for all the video games, and you've got a new one out called The Shroud of the Avatar.
Correct.
And that is from your new company, which I wrote in my own handwriting and can't read it now.
Portalarium.
Thank you so much.
Exactly.
And Andy, welcome to the show, Andy.
Welcome back, Andy.
And listen, I want to start the show with this. I want to apologize to you. Last time you came in, maybe I don't remember the day because we don't remember show to show, but you said something, and other people have been busting my balls about it, and I took it the wrong way and was mad the rest of the interview.
Triggered something.
So I would like to apologize to you, and I'm going to try to stay out of the debate today.
Can I ask you for a favor, Andy?
I accept.
Can you ask Dale why his seat is so much taller than the rest of us?
I don't know why you're sitting up higher. It's like there's a dais. I would call it illegitimate.
Don't do it again now. I did not design.
Is that what the fight was about?
Exactly.
I did not design this room, and when it was being designed, I didn't ask to be up higher.
I believe you.
And if you didn't know, I'm sitting up 6 feet higher than everyone else.
Right.
Like a judge.
On a rotating platform.
All right. Andy, do you still believe in flat Earth?
Absolutely.
Okay. Let's just do this with
Do you believe more strongly than the last time you were here, or do you have more doubts than the last time you were here?
Once you go flat, you never go back.
Can I ask you?
That's so sad.
Because after you left, I have a theory, because you came in during the God Squad, and you tell me if I'm right or wrong before we get into the debate. Are you a flat earther because you're still religiously trying to prove the Bible is true?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, that's all I wanted to ask. Now, let's have some opening statements. We'll start with flat Earth, Andy.
Okay, hi, my name is Andrew. I don't know where you got Andy from. My aunt calls me Andy.
Okay, well, we'll fix that.
He's like your aunt.
He's trying to emasculate me, but
no.
My channel.
Hold on,
Dale. Stop, Dale. Dale, this is not a debate between you and
Matt
and Andy.
This is
Andrew.
My name is on the show. That's what the name you got from the rest of the staff.
Yeah.
I did not know you preferred Andrew. I will refer to
Flat
you
Earth
Andrew from now.
Flat Earth Andrew. My channel is Friend of Yahweh. It's a YouTube channel. So I am a flat Earth filmmaker. I've done some music videos. You can look up Round and Curvy, Nevermore. Those are my two top ones.
All right.
And what is your opening statement, please?
Opening statement. The Earth is flat and stationary. The sun, moon, and stars are all very close. We could possibly be dealing with some kind of rear projection with the sun and the moon, but that's up to debate. The community is basically a bunch of free-thinking people who realize we've been indoctrinated from a young age with the whole spinning ball through TV, movies, just the culture. It's just it is what we grew up with.
Yeah,
so
agreed.
We are now questioning that. You've got things like the P900, the Nikon camera that is shooting across the plane. It's bringing boats back over the horizon. That's actually one of the first things that just blew my mind. I was, a friend of mine said people think the Earth is flat. I said that's crazy, and I went to try and debunk it. So basically, anybody who believes in the spinning ball is just somebody who has not tried to debunk flat Earth, and I mean legitimately give it the good,
the good YouTube watching,
the good scientific method, which is it observable? Does it match our observations? Does the official story match our observations?
Can I ask a question, though?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people with different theories, but does a theory have to be disproven for it to not be true?
Well, we just look. The whole community is basically we don't like the pseudoscience, which is a bunch of men got together and said, we live on a spinning ball.
Right.
We're spinning 1,000 at the equator. The Earth itself is moving at 67,000 miles an hour. It's part of this whole big system, traveling around the sun, all this movement, yet it doesn't match our observations. So that's all we're saying. And basically, we see too far on the Earth. There's some videos that just came out using infrared from an airplane. The guy is flying in Iowa. He can see the Hudson, Hudson Bay up in Canada using infrared, because infrared takes away the atmosphere.
Okay.
So just brilliant stuff.
Let's
get an opening statement from...
Father was an astronaut. You were an astronaut aboard which Russian ship?
10 years ago this week.
10 years ago this week.
I flew on the Russian Soyuz up to live for 2 weeks on the International Space Station.
Had to learn a lot of stuff and qualify.
Including Сейчас я знаю русский язык. So even the Russian language, which was actually
what is your opening statement?
So Well, first I'd like to tell you that I do know that the Earth is round by personal direct observation. I spent 2 weeks in orbit around the Earth. I'm a seasoned explorer. I've been both to the North Pole and to the South Pole to see the 24-hour day and the sun spinning around the Earth's axis. I brought with me a collection of little backyard experiments that any child can go outside and demonstrate to themselves that the Earth is round. In fact, my children were just with me in April at the North Pole, and I have video of my...
They met Santa?
They're well aware of the Santa myth. We've never deceived our children in that way.
Well, we have. We use Elf on the Shelf.
How do you get anything done around the house?
What do you threaten them with?
But I actually think that I find that people who have a flat Earth belief, or a flat Earth claim of belief, I think the majority of them, I believe you believe what you're stating you are, but I believe the vast majority of people who believe this are either trolls, and I spend plenty of time having people contact me about flat Earth claims. I think most of them are trolls. I think those that are not are generally willfully ignorant, meaning purposefully choosing not to see.
Ignorant is not an insult; it is a describer.
No, it's a describer to mean that they're just. But the willfully is a bit of a negative connotation.
Now, quickly, I've seen the accusation you did something with a playing card on the space, and what are you being accused of?
Yeah, so literally, I put all the videos of my time in space on the internet 10 years ago.
Okay, and we have a link to all your documents somewhere on KLBJFM.com if somebody wants to see it.
But strangely, only this year, only like 2 weeks ago, did the Flat Earth folks pick up on one of the about 20 magic tricks that I did when I was up in space, because I'm an amateur magician. And one of them that I did is I took a hammer, and I didn't have a feather, so I used a playing card. And I said, if you guys remember the old gravity experiment where you drop a hammer and a feather, and in a vacuum, because of gravity, they would fall at the same rate of speed.
Correct.
And what I did is when I let them go, the hammer floated, and the card fell to the ground.
In quotations,
and it fell very fast. And the reason why it fell very fast is I was using a magician's trick, and I will tip it just because it's, for the purposes of this discussion. It was a magician's thread reel, which has a little rubber band in it that winds up the thread, and it yanked it to the floor very quickly.
I used to have one that a piece of stretchy stuff. What's that called?
Elastic.
Went down your arm and sleeve and had a rubber ball, and you could fill a shot glass and then cover it with your hand, and you put the rubber ball, and it would go
pulls
up
your sleeve.
arm.
Rich, what is one simple? You mentioned tricks that even a child could understand. Not tricks, experiments.
Method. Yeah. Well, one really easy one is just call a friend who lives on the opposite coast of the United States.
Okay.
Have them go out and stick a yardstick in the ground.
Okay.
And measure the length of the shadow.
All right,
because
it's going to be different.
Yeah, you can instantly calculate the horizontal distance if it was, it's either flat or curved. And so if it's horizontal, then you would expect the shadows to lengthen or foreshorten by one amount. And if it's curved, you can calculate the length of the shadow foreshortening by another amount. And in fact, you can actually determine the exact diameter of the Earth with incredible accuracy with just a 1 meter ruler. And the ancients did this in the 1500s. They were doing this with wells. You would people who live near the equator realized that the sun would, let's say on the summer solstice, would put a shadow straight down to the bottom of the well, and if you lived in further north, the shadow couldn't go to the bottom of the well. And so the point is, this exact same process was used as long ago as the Greeks to not only prove the Earth was round, but actually get its precise diameter within a tiny fraction.
So you're
of a
talking
percentage.
about the Eratosthenes experiment, right?
I don't know that word, but it probably could be.
So he was the Greek philosopher who, proved that supposedly we lived on a ball. Are you aware that Neil deGrasse Tyson recently, like within the last few months, said that the same experiment would work if you had a close local sun? So that's...
by the way, Neil deGrasse Tyson is a good friend of mine. I assure you, he was given no evidence that he believed would be...
He said that.
Where is that?
Neil deGrasse Tyson fights flat earthers all the time. In fact, we were tweeting with each other this morning on the way into here.
Oh, my God. So you live in Austin?
I live in Austin, and I live in New York City. I have a house at both ends.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, with all due respect, look, flat earthers take the position that And the reason a lot of us were able to transition so easily into flat Earth is because we already knew that the moon landings and all that and space was all bogus. Okay.
Right.
So with all due respect, it's bogus. I'm not buying it. And you can watch just endless videos of motion capture. They're using
of Richard in space. Is that what you're getting ready to say?
Yeah.
Richard's just a small piece of the puzzle. There's plenty of astronauts that have screwed up.
Do you believe that Richard went into space?
No.
You don't believe? And how much did it cost you?
Tens of millions.
Okay. So
I put my entire life savings into the trip. But what I find humorous about that, of course, is not only is my father an astronaut, and there are now things like the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter can now take pictures of the space debris that's on the moon, including in 1992 I purchased from when the Soviet Union collapsed. I actually purchased one of their lunar rovers called Lunokhod 2 that is still
up there.
It's still on the moon. And interestingly, it can be used to. It actually has mirrors on it that are still used by modern astronomers to bounce lasers off to determine the distance from the Earth to the moon.
Gotcha.
And so, not only can we actually see the actual rover on the moon directly.
I don't think Andy's listening. He wants us to look up a website. Well, I can do it over here. Andy.
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
All right.
Keep talking.
Okay.
All right.
Keep talking.
So it turns out that this device that I happen to own that is still sitting on the moon can, I presume Andy believes that lasers and radio waves exist. So first of all, Andy, do you agree that it works?
Let's get him back over to the microphone. He's having Matt look something up online.
I'm having Matt look up moon transit, which is one of the most ridiculous pieces of footage we've ever seen.
Okay.
But supposedly real.
But do you agree that the radio
clouds do not change?
Do you agree that radio waves work? Do you believe that we are using a technology referred to as radio today?
Look, satellites don't exist. They're high altitude weather balloons. Period.
So what is that dish out that window aiming at?
Balloons over the city.
And is it a bit odd that all of them all over the country aim at the exact same place in space that is a few 100,000 miles away?
Where are the balloons?
Why do they aim to the exact same place?
Because that's where a satellite is sitting out there in space. That's because that transmitter right there happens to be where the news feeds come into the station.
So why do airplanes drop off in the southern hemisphere?
Why do airplanes drop off
a radar?
Explain yourself.
Well, if you're tracking an airplane, they all drop off in the southern hemisphere. If we have satellites going all over, you're telling me there's one satellite, like a master satellite, they're all pointing towards?
No.
There's a satellite attached to that direction.
At geosynchronous orbit above the equator of the Earth, that dish, which does not rotate, that dish is pointing at a place in space.
For example, when satellite television first came out before they had the current internet,
C-band.
The dish to change channels would have to you got to listen, Andy. You got to listen.
Hang on
a dish would change directions to get a certain channel because it was changing satellites back in the day.
Look, I want you guys to pass around this video. This is the most ridiculous piece of evidence.
Can we put it on the?
Throw it up on the big screen. We'll throw it up there.
All right, I will. I will do that.
If you YouTube moon transit, NASA moon transit, this is supposedly real footage.
Okay.
First of all, I can immediately tell you it's not. Just that still.
Exactly. So you're looking at something saying that NASA put this out. This is official.
No, I don't know.
Hold on, the moon just disappeared.
But it could be a model. It could be a model of something that they're trying to
look at those
prove.
clouds changing. My goodness.
That's not a real picture, Andy.
That's right. And NASA says this is real. So you guys don't do any, just cursory basic research. It's so easy to disprove NASA.
Well, true. Whether that's, by the way, real footage or not. What is your point of showing this? What is your point?
Why aren't the clouds changing? Because everybody knows it's fake. Just look at it.
But by the way,
let's assume.
Fake. Well, first of all, who filmed that? If it's real,
it's from us.
It says this animation. This is from NASA.
It's an animation.
But even if it is, the point is,
no, it's not.
The point is, even if this is presumed real or not, the amount of time that would have to the moon would pass this frame is only a matter of minutes, and so therefore you wouldn't expect the clouds to change.
What we're seeing is the moon go over the face of the Earth, and Andy's claiming the clouds don't move.
Which I'm but you wouldn't expect it to, because the clouds would have to move thousands of miles for it to move a pixel.
Right.
I'm not sure what they're trying to prove with that. If that is animation, what they're trying to...
Well,
it is
but
animation.
Even if it's real, who knows?
Let me ask the astronaut.
Former astronaut.
Once an astronaut,
Who-
always
whose
an
dad was
astronaut.
Are you aware of the angular resolution of our eyes and perspective? You are,
generally
of course.
speaking,
Okay,
yes.
so angular resolution is basically it's just a law of as an object gets further away. Let's say a car, and it's a mile away, 10 miles. It's gonna disappear. There's a crater on the moon that's supposedly 30 miles wide. The angular resolution says that it disappears, that 30-mile... We can see it with our naked eye. We can look up and see it, right?
I don't know. I don't know what crater you're talking about.
The moon is 38,000 miles away, we're told. 238,000 miles
That's
away,
better.
right? So it's really far.
Okay.
And
Yes,
yet
it is
we
really
can
far.
see this crater with our eye. Did you know that crater, based on the law of angular resolution, hold on, it disappears at 400,000 feet? That's 75 miles. That crater is gone. You cannot see it 75
Without actually knowing
miles
what crater you're even talking about, this is who knows?
Well, it's 30,
Is
30
it in the
miles
Sea
wide.
of Tranquility?
It's 30 miles wide. I'm giving you the numbers, and you want to jump past it because that's real science. Your eye can only see an object so far away.
Well, that's
so at
true.
30
Your
miles away,
iPhone actually has higher resolution than your eye is capable of seeing. So yes,
at
I
30
agree that
miles
there are things
away,
you
the
can't
crater
detect.
disappears. At 75 miles away, which is 400,000 feet, the crater will
I'm not
disappear.
smart enough
Now,
to...
you
So
mentioned-
hold on,
again,
tell me how that relates to flat Earth.
Well, it proves that the moon is close.
And how
Okay.
close would you estimate it to be? Most of us have learned 250,000, right? Miles, right?
Yeah,
That's
how
generally
far are you
speaking.
I would
saying?
say 6 feet. Oh, no, that's chewy.
How far and why haven't we traveled there if it's so close?
Oh, we've traveled there. We've gone to the moon. We've gone to the moon probably every day. They're doing all kinds of observations.
Okay, but how
on
close?
it.
Can you give me an
It's
estimate of how
close.
in
It's
miles?
close.
How close?
So do you believe space aliens exist, by the way?
No, absolutely not.
But how many miles away is the moon in your
Do
estimation?
you? I mean, most people do believe space aliens exist.
how
I
far
don't
away
believe
is
aliens
the
have
moon?
visited
Hold on,
the Earth.
answer Bob's
How
question.
far
and then we'll
away
go
is
to
the
Richard.
moon generally, ballpark miles or knots or whatever?
Well, according to the official story, it's
Parsecs, I don't know.
238.
No, but what do you agree?
You're here to educate us.
Oh, on the flat Earth model?
No, how far is the moon from flat Earth?
In the flat Earth model.
Yes,
But
yes.
In your
the
mind.
moon is, it's really up to debate because, like I said, we could possibly
Give me ballpark.
be
We're looking
dealing-
Give a
ballpark.
number.
30,000 feet.
And
30,000 feet.
Airplanes fly higher than that.
Do they?
Even before I went into space. Well, first of all, commercial airliners fly
39.
About almost 40.
According to you.
Then of course I've also been on the Concorde, which flew over 50, 60. Then I've also been up on MiG 25s, which go to like 85.
Could you stop making us feel like our life
like
is
we're doing nothing.
And then of course in space you're about 250 miles up
Hey,
on
so-
the International Space Station.
So why is it that billions have circumnavigated east to west, but only 2 people, one of them is related to the Queen, went north to south?
Can I ask
going this way.
a quick question? At this 30,000 foot moon,
Yeah.
how big is?
Don't quote me on that. I mean, that's look.
Well, so
Flat
just trying
earthers
to-
are willing to
How
admit
big
that
is
we
the
don't
moon?
know everything.
How big is
That's-
the moon?
We're trying to figure this out.
no,
how
but
big
Oh,
is-
and by the way,
if I may.
nobody. Let me clear one
I just
Go
thing.
ahead.
I just
Stop.
real quickly want to know how big is the moon? Do you think?
I don't know.
Okay, I just want to know why the moon itself hasn't disappeared at 30,000 feet.
See, exactly. We could be dealing with some kind of rear projection. But let me clear one thing up.
A
because-
giant rear projector?
Well, if you have like a glass dome or a
Truman
firmament,
Show.
Yeah.
Oh, I
exactly.
gotcha.
And when you put a light behind it, then it becomes very relative to your position on the Earth. Where the sun is. That's why it's very hard to triangulate the moon and the sun. People have tried it. It's very difficult. Okay,
All right.
so
Well,
he has some pictures. I'd like to clear this up.
Okay.
No flat earther believes that we live on a pancake that's flying through space.
We
This
don't.
is misinformation put out, to make it seem ridiculous. The Flat Earth Society is controlled opposition to make it seem ridiculous. If
Okay,
you
so the
search
ice. So you believe the ice wall is less ridiculous than the pancake,
ice
right?
wall,
So you believe the ice wall model, correct?
it's not a wall, it's a shoreline.
Okay.
There's an edge, a shoreline, a
Okay.
cliff face, which
Okay.
we've all seen photos of, right?
that
We have?
keeps that retains the
So
water.
by the way, are
holds
you
the
also
water in,
asserting?
right?
Are you
Okay.
also asserting that you don't think I've been to the North Pole and the South Pole?
I think you've been to a location that they are calling the South Pole.
And at that location
dumbass.
where I lived for a month,
You did not see a
sun-
24-hour sun. You did not see a 24-hour sun. Where is the footage? Where's the hundreds of...
I'm sorry,
There's
Andy.
tons of
Andy,
footage.
Andy, hold on.
No, there's not.
Andy,
No,
Andy,
There's tons of footage
not.
like this.
Andy, I've
Where you take a picture every hour and you get this 24-hour picture of the sun.
If I may.
All the time.
Andy,
In Antarctica?
Andy,
Yes.
I've
In the South?
spent a lot of time, 3 or 4 times in northern England in the summer.
Oh, here he goes with the brags.
No,
He
in the
loves
north.
stories.
In the north,
And
yes,
hold on,
there's a 24-hour sun.
And the sun in England doesn't go down till almost 11 o'clock at night.
There
and
is
that's
a
in the
sun
summer.
in the 24. There's a 24-hour sun in the north.
But by the
Yes.
way, there is at the South Pole also.
But listen.
Where's the footage?
I've been to the
There's
South
time
Pole
lapses on
twice.
YouTube.
Where's
I
the
have my
footage?
own time
Like,
lapses of it.
Where's
There's
the footage?
tons of them on the internet. There's tons
No,
and
there's
tons.
not.
Yes, there is.
There's
Hold on,
tons of
hold on,
24-hour
Andy,
sun in the
Andy.
north, but not in the south.
I know Richard is a very honorable man. He's been doing the show for many years. I've even worked for him, doing voice work years ago. He doesn't love me anymore, but anyway. If he says he has seen a 24-hour sun, why can't you believe a man who's an honest man telling you what he thinks is the truth?
Ready for punchline? Because he's an astronaut.
Oh, so astronauts are part of a conspiracy.
Well, absolutely. They're not going into space. That's for damn sure.
Richard is a video game developer who paid, and by the way, it sounds like you've wasted a lot of money.
Yeah.
He paid to go on a Russian spaceship. It wasn't his career. His dad was an astronaut, but he's a video game developer.
Here in town. So
What
when
can
did
I say?
so when do these people get indoctrinated? So there's 7 of us who have flown privately. One's from Iran. One's from
Are you sure you
South
weren't
Africa.
in a high altitude plane?
I'm pretty damn sure that the 3.5 G's of acceleration over 8.5
Okay,
minutes.
listen, I'm going to break. No talking during the break. No, because I want everything on the air.
Peace
right?
and love.
And thank
All right.
you,
We got a little Ringo?
Andrew. Thank you, and Richard Garriott. Can you
course.
hang on?
Of course.
We'll do another 15 minutes or so. You're listening to the Flat Earth Debate with Dudley and Bob and Matt on 93.7 KLBJ. And you're telling me to sweep the quarter hour and break at 9:01? You can. Okay, sit back down, Andrew. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. We can keep going till 9:01. How's that? All right. Who has the floor next? Did you want to ask him some questions or anything?
Sure.
You had a list of questions. And I think a lot of Richard's stuff we're putting up online, at least the PDF or something. He came in with a lot of
We
paperwork.
can't understand most of it, but we're
He
just
came in with a
simple
lot of
disc jockeys.
paperwork that the conspiracy people gave him. You all right, Andrew? You put your head down a little bit. You all right? You're doing good, man.
Yeah,
You're doing
We're
all right.
not against you.
I think
man.
he's frustrated with us though, because we're not hearing
I'm
him.
frustrated with myself because it's like once you get in here and you got all these opinions going left and right, it's hard to
Make a point.
Yeah,
It's
we
hard
do-
to-
it's hard to talk every morning. It's hard to convince anybody in this room anything. But don't think you're we're not your enemy. We're really not. So, what are your questions you wanted to ask Andrew? Hold on. You had whose turn is it?
It doesn't matter.
All right. Yeah. What questions do you have for him?
Are we on it?
Yeah, we're on.
Yeah,
Oh, great.
Yeah,
Okay,
we're
I'm back.
we're
sweep
not back. We're going to sweep till 9:01.
Oh, great. Okay. Then in that case, yeah. So, if I presume you believe that the geographic places in the southern hemisphere exist. You know, the southern tip of Africa, Australia, those places exist, obviously.
Yeah.
And you can go on the internet and you can book a cruise that will take you, for example, from the tip of South America to the tip of Africa to over here to Australia, touches actually in Antarctica briefly and back around. And so you can book that cruise and it takes about a month. And interestingly, you can do a similar cruise around the Arctic Ocean that goes around from Russia to Canada and all the other places there. And by the way, it takes about a month to go approximately the same distance. And so, under these, first of all, do you believe that those two businesses exist? That you can buy a cruise ship to take you on those kind of tours?
I think it's really sketchy, very sketchy, and it's really expensive. So that right there, you cut out a lot of people. There is a problem with the flight plans. If you look at this flat Earth brochure that I made that has 10 proofs the Earth is flat, one of them is plane flights. We've got hundreds of flights every day that make fuel stops that make no sense on a globe. In other words, they keep coming up from like Australia. They come all the way up to like Los Angeles, and then they go all the way down to Argentina when they could just go straight across the ocean from Australia to Argentina. That's because it makes perfect sense. It's a straight line on the flat Earth map. And if you look at the jet streams, if you compare flat Earth to a globe, it doesn't make sense on a globe. It makes perfect sense on a closed system with the North Pole in the middle on the flat Earth, all the continents spreading out, and Antarctica is really just an ice shore that is everywhere south
And what is beyond that shore, by the way?
Well, Admiral Byrd said there was extra land that was actually hospitable. That's Admiral Byrd who did the expedition down there, and he said it on. You can watch it on YouTube. He said it in an interview.
Wait,
Well, he did throw out some flags on some land in Antarctica and try to claim it for the United States. But I don't think I assure you, he was not a proponent of the flat Earth. He was just trying to claim some of the land for America.
This was the early days where people could actually think for themselves and weren't completely controlled. And he went down there.
I'm trying to find Admiral Byrd's YouTube channel, and I'm not able to find
he's a little old. It's a little old.
It was called Operation Fishbowl, and it was under the project name Dominic, which means of the Lord. So you have Fishbowl of the Lord. Just a nice little tidbit for you there.
And how about the fact that Mercury and Venus, which are closer to the sun than the Earth, and because the Earth is the center of our solar system, that Venus and Mercury, as they go around the sun, they come in front of the sun and behind the sun. And you can see them when they're going away from us on the backside. You can see them have phases of the moon, just like the moon would have. And when they go behind it, you can see it disappear. And when they go in front of it, you can see the dark spot of Mercury and Venus as it goes in front. On the other hand, if you try to do that with Mars or any of the outer planets, they go on the far side of the Earth. So they go behind the sun, but then they also go behind the Earth. They never transit between the Earth and the sun. And again, that's something that anybody in their backyard with a telescope can observe easily.
What are you trying to prove there? I'm not really following.
That the sun is the center of the solar system. Do you agree with that?
No, the sun is just moving over us. When it rises, it's coming closer due to perspective. So there's lots of videos you can watch.
The sun's not
closer.
a projection, though? I mean, you've talked about the back projection.
We don't know what the sun is, but Tesla thought we lived in a very electric universe. I tend to agree. There could be plasma going on, so there's a lot of plasma theory that people are talking about. But how does the moon, let me ask you as an astronaut, how does the moon, during its full cycle, when it's full, how does a single source illumination from a single light source, like the sun, shining onto a sphere, how does it light it up edge to edge? Can you please explain how that works?
Why is that a problem for you?
Because we are told that the phases of the moon is caused by the angle at which the sun bounces off.
It has to do with the perspective. It has to do with the perspective. We could set it up here in this room. We could say that one of the lights overhead is casting a shadow compared to or is lighting this bottle. The lights to my right are lighting the right-hand side of this bottle more than the left-hand side of the bottle.
Look, everybody knows.
And so as I look at it, this side is bright and this side is dim. But if I move it to this side, the bottle is now away from me from the lights, and now the full face of this bottle is lit.
So how? I mean, I'm asking everybody. How does the moon be lit edge to edge? It proves it's its own light source. And if you measure,
it's not always lit edge to edge.
In the full moon, it's perfectly full.
Andy, it's hard to respond to you when we believe that men went to the moon and know that it's not a light source.
He knows that people are going to the moon every day.
So we can't argue that point, and none of us are going to argue in here scientifically. We're shock jocks, as you called.
But how many people do you think are part of this conspiracy? So there's been 550 people.
I want you to answer the moon. I want everybody to go around the room and answer the moon.
Can you guys hang on?
Yes.
All right, and I'll try to figure out what question you're asking, and we're going to come back and do a wrap up segment